everybody. How's it going? Well, we're back again. Can you hear me okay? Let me know in the chat if you hear my sound all right. Always want to make sure that I'm coming in. And let me know where you're tuning in from. Love to hear people from all around the world are coming in here to find out about archaeology and ancient history news. We've got some good ones for the month. I usually have this on the weekends, but I'm going away this weekend. So I thought I'd do it slightly earlier this time so that I don't miss you. Yeah. There's nothing going on in the chat. Oh, hello from Paris, France, says Esther. Oh, you know what's weird? My chat over here, I'm getting stuff. But my chat over here, I am not. Weird. Oh, Glenn, you're here. Great. Glenn is my moderator, everybody. Give Glenn your utmost respect. Thank you very much, Glenn, for helping out. A little low, but audible. Oh, okay. Well, we're going to have to do something about that then. Let's see. Well, I've got the microphone turned all the way up. Yeah, it's all the way up. So I'm not sure why that is. I guess you'll have to turn me up, but yeah, that's very strange. Unless there's a secondary audio button, but I don't know of one. Here's the mixer. How are we doing on the mixer here? All the way up to 100. So yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. Isn't that strange? Well, anyway. Also, I was hoping to look at the chat here, but I'm getting nothing on this chat. And I'm wondering if that means I'm doing a double stream. I don't know if anyone can check to see if I'm doing actually 2 live streams at the same time, because that would not be great. So check that out for me. But I'm looking at all the people here. We've got people from Paris, from Texas, from Vermont, Bakersfield. Well, everybody can't be perfect. Pyongyang. I'm just kidding. People from Bakersfield. Dartmoor, UK. Toronto, Tennessee. Oh, yeah, I am in a t-shirt, Glenn, and that's because I'm wearing a World of Antiquity t-shirt, everybody. Can you see it? Yeah, you can have one too if you want. Below the video in the description box, there is a link to my channel merch, okay? Hopefully you'll like it. Just one stream, Mark? Okay, good. All right, I guess the chat is just not working over here on this side. So I'm going to have to look over here. I know it's a little awkward, but that's all I can do. It's my second screen. All right. All right, it says my keyframes are not being sent often enough. I don't even know what that means. So we're just going to continue. Hello from Oregon. Or is it Oregon? South Shields. Turkey. All right, Turkey. Yes. Albuquerque, New Mexico. Yes, great, thank you. All right, so I know some people are saying, come on, get to the news. Well, I'm just waiting for people to come on here. We're up to 42 viewers. That's not that many, but people can watch this later, of course, as well. But let me bring up my news articles here. And let's talk about some of the news, shall we? Okay, so 2,800-year-old royal tomb linked to Midas dynasty discovered in Gordian Turkey. Speak of which, right? So, I don't know if you saw, but I did a video on the Phrygians, or the Phrygians, as some people say, and even went, not to Gordian, but to some, like Yazidakaya and places like that. Really cool culture, okay, from the Iron Age. And, yeah, now already there have been some tombs found at Gordian, but a new one has been found. And Penn is part of this, working along with the Turkish archaeologists. And they found another tomb. Yeah. It says here, the oldest standing, this is already what is there. Previous excavations have found the oldest standing wooden building in the world, the earliest colored stone mosaics ever found in Gordian Citadel from 825 BCE, the best preserved citadel gate of the early first millennium, about 850, and a gilded ivory sphinx of the 6th century BC. So that's probably decorated a throne. However, there's new excavations going on here, and they found a new one, Tumulus T26, one of 130 mounds that surround the citadel. There's still more to be excavated, of course. Following 4 months of excavations, the burial chamber was found. Although its roof had collapsed, the objects deposited in the tomb at the time of burial, around 750 BCE, remained in place with no evidence of tomb robbing. And they had bronze vessels that were used during banquets, and iron tools, and a pair of large bronze cauldrons. And you're looking here, where's the pictures? So I had to find another article that had more pictures. Okay, so here's another one. Royal tomb discovered in Gordian, and you can see some photos here. Here's the entrance to the tomb with the archaeologist in front of it there. And then here are some of the discoveries. These are some bronze cauldrons that I mentioned. You can see a close-up of the archaeologist, and then here you can see part of the tomb, anyway. And artifacts to go on display this year. So they're already getting ready to display all of this for tourists, so you can go to Gordian and actually visit the tomb. So they're excited about it. And here's some more of the discoveries made from the tomb. And they believe this is from the same dynasty that the famed King Midas is from. So this is the royal dynasty of the Phrygians from around this time. So it's a pretty important discovery. Yeah, here's another shot inside of the old tumulus. Isn't that cool? All right, well, that's from 2023. Wait, is this from 2020? No, it's 2025. Oh, maybe this is a different one. This could be a different tumulus, unless this is before they found the burial chamber. That's possible. Maybe this is from before they found the burial chamber. But these ones are from 2025. This month. Well, actually, this is from June, so this was just taken, and this is from January. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Bakersfield is famous for Buck Owens and Merle Haggard. Well, there you go, okay? So I eat my words, okay? Greetings from your Portuguese #1 follower. All right, great to have you, of course. All right, let's look at another one, shall we? All right. 4,000-year-old altar. Oops. Oh, you know what? I think, I forgot to turn on my ad blocker. Oh, you know what? It's disabled. Oh, I can't do that. So I'm sorry, but I'm going to have some ads on here that are going to be a little annoying. Now this shot here, this is a place that's already been known. This is from the Caral, or the Caral Supe, it's sometimes called the Norte Chico civilization, in Peru, okay, which is the oldest urban society in the Americas, okay, very old. 4,000 years old we're talking here, right? And they've been doing some digging here, of course. It's ongoing. And that they found the base of an ancient pyramid, okay, a circular structure that turned out to be a 4,000-year-old altar. It's at the site, by the way, of Era de Pando. All right, it's part of the Caral Supe civilization. I'm sorry, a 5,000-year-old society, but the altar is 4,000 years old. And this is what it looks like. All right. And it tells you that they performed fire rituals as part of their whatever ritual beliefs, you know, their religious beliefs. But they have a fire altar here, which is a public one, right out in front of the pyramid. Okay. They call it the Altar del Fuego, of course. Yeah. It's about 22 feet across. Pretty interesting. Here's an aerial view. The fire altar is at the bottom left. Yeah, so it's attached to the courtyard, pyramid and courtyard. Yeah, and here's another shot. Well, I don't know if this is the fire altar. This is just another part of the structure. But yeah, so it's always great to find new things at the Corral culture. This is one of those cultures that don't get talked about enough, but I definitely want to go there. Wouldn't it be great if I could do Antiquities Explorer there series? That would be fantastic. All right, and here's another one. Now this is a study, so I'm also sharing with you new studies, okay, that are coming out, and this is one that just came out this month. Why female pharaohs' statues were destroyed. Actually, it's a study about pretty much why all statues were destroyed, but in particular, it's addressing the issue of Hatshepsut's statues. Now, you may know this already, but it is widely believed that many of Queen Hatshepsut's from Egypt, this is the 18th dynasty in Egypt, she ruled in the 15th century BCE. A lot of her statuary is destroyed or defaced and things like that. And it's generally believed that it was her stepson, Thutmose III, who succeeded her, who believed he should have been the king the whole time, that he was the one that had this done. Right? But this new study, now this doesn't mean that this study is conclusive and everyone agrees with it. Okay, it's just a new study that's come out. We'll see what happens when other Egyptologists examine it and how they feel about it. But this particular study came out, and the person who did it is Junyi Wong from the University of Toronto. All right, he was interviewed by Newsweek about it, and he says, well, he talks about what the assumptions were, which I already told you about. But then he says. Well, it says, Wong has undertaken an examination of previously unpublished documents on the statuary and points out in a statement that many of her statues survive in relatively good condition with their faces virtually intact. So he's wondering, why are some of the images of Hatshepsut untouched? Right? My research indicates that a large proportion of the destruction to Hatshepsut's statues was actually caused by the reuse of these statues as raw material. Now, that can apply to everything, of course, because we know there are some images on reliefs that have been perfectly carved out that wouldn't have been for raw material. But he also says that is found on other female pharaohs, but also that no. Where did I read this? Oh yeah, it's an example of the deactivation of statues, a ritualistic practice intended to neutralize the power of the representations. Okay, examples of this can be found across the statuary of various kings in pharaonic history. So what it is saying here is that this was not a vindictive attack by Thutmose III, but actually this is part of their religious beliefs, and it was a way of deactivating Hatshepsut, okay, which is what is done to many of the statues, even of kings. All right, so as part of their religious beliefs is what his conclusion is. Okay, so he doesn't think it has anything to do with an effort by Thutmose to erase her from history or something like that. Anyway, I will link the article so you can read the whole thing, and I think it also links to his study, but I thought that was interesting and worth sharing with you. The pharaohs that came later were jealous that Hatshepsut looked better with the fake beard than they did with real beards. Well, actually, Glenn, the kings wore fake beards too. Yeah. A lot of people wore wigs and fake beards. Even if they could grow a beard, it was too hard to keep a real beard, you know. It's just easier to put the strap-on, you know. Will you cover white sands, or is that too out of bounds for this one? I don't do prehistory, Kyle, so yeah, I started around, the 4th millennium BCE and worked my way up till about between 6 and 900 of our own era. So it's a long period of time, but that's kind of the ancient period. So you're talking about prehistory. That's more in a prehistorian's realm. But sometimes I touch on it because I have to, but yeah. Mexico has a lot of stone-built structures still standing nowadays, and Mexico is in North America. Oh, you're responding to Aunt, is it? Probably what is... Anyway. Oh, Do archaeologists, historians have any idea why there seems to be so much more construction in South and Central America than in North America? I don't know if there's like a... Well, I'm sure terrain has something to do with it, but a lot of it is just... I don't want to say coincidence. It would just be sort of what the people in the area were deeming important, what types of movements were able to be generated. It's hard to say exactly why, I mean, you have like Anastasia and things like that in North America, but I know what you're saying. It is interesting, and it all goes back to that question of: is urban society, building of cities, huge buildings, and all of that, is that inevitable in the course of human development? And I think not. No, it's not inevitable. It didn't even have to happen anywhere, but it happens in some places. And the reasons why, this is again in the purview of people who do prehistory, but there's all kinds of different theories out there. It's still an open question, about why it happens in some places and not others. But it has a lot to do with environment and the needs of the people at the particular time, and then just the people themselves and their own interest and ideas that they come up with, All right, let's look at another one here. You've heard of Tiwanaku, huh? Pumapunku, which is part of Tiwanaku. Well, there's been another discovery there. Yeah, did you know the archaeologists are still working there? It's funny, too, because, look, I'm getting an ad for AdBlock. It's funny because I just had someone, I think it was yesterday, telling me that archaeologists don't even care about, this place, Tiwanaku. And they're working there, yeah. Discovered another temple, remains of a temple. It's actually not standing anymore. They just found the foundations. And this is a reconstruction of the layout of it. But let me show you the so here's what it looks like from the ground. Okay. But if you look at it from the air, okay, let's go down here. See there an A? Yeah, the A square. That's from the air. Okay. I guess a drone picked that up. And you can see the remains of the foundations of the structure. And then on the right is, of course, the reconstruction of the layout. So they only got the first floor here from this. But the temple's layout, as it says here, seems aligned to perform rituals following the solar equinox, the moment when the sun is directly above the equator. Yeah, so pretty interesting. They also found some artifacts as well, but I don't... Oh, yeah. We have a few pictures here. Not much that you can see here. Some cups, okay, which was used for drinking chicha. Is that how you say it? A maize beer. Yeah, but that's all they've got to show us as far as photos go. But yeah, anyway, they're going to continue to work there and see what they can find. This is not right in the tourist area of Tiwanaku. This is a little bit away from there, but it's part of the overall culture of Tiwanaku, which is another place I really want to visit and do some episodes about. Yeah. Let's see. What we got here. Thank you. We got a super chat for $4.99. Could it be possible that the destroyed statues are from an artist studio? I'm an artist myself, and we rework and create studies of our work. Oh, well, I suppose it's possible with maybe some of them, but many of these were in temples. They clearly were put on display before they were destroyed. But others are maybe even on provenance, so it's hard to say. It would be really great to find an Egyptian sculptor's workshop. I think they may have found some, but there's no more sculptures in it, But wouldn't it be great to find a workshop that still has some unfinished sculptures in it or something like that? Would be amazing. Let's see. Maize beer might be good. Yeah. Okay, let's look at another one. All right, this is about Odysseus. You know who Odysseus is? The hero of the Odyssey by Homer. Okay? Well, he's said to have lived in Ithaca, which is an island, okay, near Greece. Well, actually, is Ithaca in Greece? I think it's in Greece. Anyway, so this is on the western side, and although I would love to be able to share with you news that archaeologists discovered that Odysseus was a real person or something like that, no, this discovery comes from after Odysseus' time, okay, on the island, and it's dated to, let's see, oh, this is part of the some of the archaeological finds that have been discovered there, but they found on the slope of I don't know how to say it, Exogi, in northern Ithaca, okay? There's a large rock outcrop here with a natural spring, all right? And recently they found here evidence, and this is from, okay, 3rd century BC we're talking here, okay? Although they do have human activity going back to the late 5th to 4th millennium BC, all right? But they found evidence for the worship of Odysseus. Yeah. Let's see. Cultic center, Hellenistic and Roman periods. So it's going, Hellenistic would be, 3rd century BCE up until the Romans took over in the 1st century BCE, and then the Roman up until the 2nd century AD here. And this is the part where they found some stamped roof tiles bearing Greek and Latin inscriptions, and one bears the abbreviation for the word demosia, meaning public. Others refer to Apollo Agios, okay, which is the god Apollo. Okay, 2 tiles include the name Odysseus in Greek. So this is along with these other inscriptions that are in a religious context. Okay, the worship of the gods and so forth, and Odysseus is worshipped with them. Okay. So this is believed to be part of a structure called an Odysseon, which would be like a temple, a site dedicated, sanctuary, I guess you could say, dedicated to the worship of a hero. And in this case, it's Odysseus. Yeah. Now, there already had been an inscription found from 207 BC from Magnesia in Asia Minor that showed that Odysseus was worshipped. Okay, but that's not in Greece. It was in Greek. It was an area controlled by Greeks, at the time. But this is here on the mainland, or not? It's not actually on the mainland. It's on an island. But anyway. It's another place to the west of there that shows Odyssean worship. Yeah. Well, here you can see the inscription right here. So I thought that was very interesting, and I wanted to share that with you. Okay. I don't know if you even knew that, if Odysseus was worshipped, but yes. All right, this one's about Malta. Let's see. So wonderful when Greek mythology comes alive in modern times. Yeah. Poseidon. Oh, I thought you were talking about Poseidon, but your name is Poseidon. Is the normative culture model criticized simply because it's just too obvious and takes matter on face value? When you say normative culture model, what do you mean exactly? I think you have to be more specific. Yes, Ithaca is in Greece. Okay, yes. I thought so, but I wanted to be careful. Yeah. Okay. No easy way from Earth to the stars. Malta's prehistoric temples may have served as celestial navigation schools. Now, I want to make a differentiation here between what you might see on an episode of, say, Ancient Apocalypse and what this study is. Okay? When we're talking about archaeoastronomy, okay, which is a legitimate field, which is basically interested in finding out, mainly from structures and other things that people make, how it connects with the stars or worship of the stars or the movement of the stars, with astronomy. But a lot of times, like you might find in Ancient Apocalypse or somewhere else, people just use a lot of imagination, and they say, well, look, this kind of lines up with this, therefore they must have done it purposely that way. But there's no real way to corroborate that a lot of times, right? How do you know that it's not just a coincidence that it's facing in that direction, So, this has been done with Malta before, unconvincingly. But this is a new study. And the authors of this study, which was published in Archaeological and Anthropological Sciences, as a matter of fact, I think I have it here. Yeah. By Fabio Silva and Torre Lamsdalen. I apologize if I'm butchering the surname there. But this is their study, and they examined these temples, okay? And the whole point of it was, to try to find a way, and this is kind of a new procedure, to kind of corroborate the findings so that it's a little bit more certain that it was done on purpose, okay? So anyway, there's a bit here about where the temples are and how they were built and all of that, okay? But I want to tell you about this part. They compiled and analyzed orientation data from 32 individual temple structures spread across the Maltese archipelago. This represents the largest sample size of its kind. By creating a robust statistical framework, the team was able to test multiple hypotheses simultaneously, offering the most comprehensive look yet at how the builders may have chosen where and how to orient these sacred spaces. Okay, this is a bit of techno-babble here, but the data were processed using a unified probabilistic model that integrated both terrestrial and celestial variables. I guess that's pretty straightforward. An approach rarely seen in archaeoastronomical studies. So basically what they're doing is they're taking the celestial variables, right, the celestial data, and they're integrating it with the terrestrial, or the data on the ground, all at the same time, which is not usually done. All right? They wanted to take into account the slope of the land, the wind directions, winter sunlight, celestial alignments with the rising and setting of specific stars, and so forth. Right? And they believe that this is a great way to do it by integrating all of this data so that it becomes more significant statistically for their conclusions, right? So that they're a little bit more believable. Okay? And what did they find? Okay, well, this is the interesting part. They found, right here, the unexplained orientation peaks matched the rising and setting azimuths of bright southern stars, including Hadar, Gaykrux, and Avior. Yeah. These stars, while no longer visible from Malta due to changes in the Earth's axial tilt, would have been prominent in the Neolithic southern sky. These were not just any stars, they were bright enough to be used in open sea navigation. And this is another part of the study. They believed it was for seafaring. So yes, there was a religious element to it, but it also was for navigating the sea. So that's pretty interesting. Now again, this has not yet gone through all the peer review and everything, so we're going to see what Maltese archaeologists have to say about it. But it is a lot stronger of a study about these alignments than many of the other archaeoastronomical studies that are sometimes out there, you know. Yeah, so what do you think about that? Hercules was like a half-god hero, if I remember right. Not sure if Odysius is the same or similar mold. Well, a lot of people get deified later, but I'm not sure. I don't think there's a lot of writings in the Greek world about Odysseus being a god. They did have heroons for heroes, but the deification sometimes is thought to have occurred after death, something like that, you know. Remember with Christianity that euhemerization, you can just call it euhemerism, was used to make pagan gods into mortals. Otherwise we wouldn't have Woden appearing as an ancestor of the English royal family. Yeah. But even before Christianity, they had, well, Euhemerus was a pre-Christian Greek philosopher, right? Yeah. Interstellar immigrants are pouring into our country from galactic prisons. When it comes to archaeoastronomy and sites with symbolic construction, why do many cultures have the so-called primordial mound theme? Well, we don't know if they all do. There are mounds, and sometimes they're interpreted to be the primordial mound. Egypt, we do know because we have their writings, we do know they believed in a primordial mound. It's in the Bible, too. The idea about the earth originally being in the sea and land coming out of it. I don't know if that's I guess it's a fairly popular idea. Is it a natural idea that they would think, like, maybe by looking at islands and things like that and thinking maybe the earth was all an ocean at one point and then the land came out of it? I don't know. But sometimes it's just archaeologists seeing mounds and they're like, well, maybe it represents a primordial mound, but it could be just a guess, Who doesn't like a good mound? Oh boy. Where's your reshot is a Stargate t-shirt. Maybe I should have some ironic t-shirts, right? To make fun of some of these other ideas. Yeah. All right. The Ben, Jonathan. That's right. In Egypt. How would you rate Greek religion by Walter Burkitt for starters? Do you have any further recommendation for studying Greek theology? Oh, I'd have to get back to you on that one, Poseidon. Yeah, it's not. I don't know a lot of the books on the subject, so I can't tell you off the top of my head. Sometimes you feel like a nut. Yep. Sometimes you don't. All right. So anyway, let's look at another one. This is about the Dead Sea Scrolls. When I pulled this up, I was like, did I talk about this last month? But it was dated to June, and I couldn't find the earlier one, so I thought, well, maybe I didn't. Maybe I didn't discuss it. I don't know. But I have deja vu about it. The Dead Sea Scrolls, you might say, oh yeah, we know about the Dead Sea Scrolls. What about them? Well, guess what? New research, blending cutting-edge AI and advanced radiocarbon dating, giving a new view on the date of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Yeah, and guess what? They may be centuries older than previously thought. Not as many centuries as you're maybe hoping for, but yes, a couple of centuries anyway. So, normally, we were thinking that, previously I should say, we were thinking they were dated between the 3rd century BCE and the 2nd century CE. Okay? And how did we date them before now? Paleography, this would be analyzing handwriting styles to estimate their age, like how they were writing Hebrew, Aramaic, or whatever in those times, and analyzing it that way. So that's one of the main ways that they dated it. Now, we did have some radiocarbon dates before. However, they say that those may have been a little off because some of the scrolls had oil on them that may have affected the results. Okay? Well, they went back in there and they got new results. Okay? And guess what? The dates come out a little bit older. For the beginning. I don't think for the end of the period, but I think it stretches the beginning of the period a little bit earlier. Okay? So yeah, this chart is a little bit hard to look at. We'll look at the upper right one. Okay? And you can see where some of these scrolls come in. And look at the earlier one here is between maybe 350 and 300 BCE, and that is in the 4th century BCE. Okay? So older. All right? They're talking about the excerpts of the book of Daniel, book of Enoch. Yeah. So anyway, I think it was only 1 or 2 scrolls that were earlier, but we can say, oh, some of the scrolls were older than we thought before. Okay? So, yeah, I guess it's only 100 years, but, thought that was interesting. Okay? All right. A lot of people complain about AI. In this last month, I've gotten a lot of complaints about AI, but it has helped a lot, okay, with things like this. Dating things, chronology especially, but other things as well, reading the Herculaneum scrolls and things like that, reconstructing things. So AI has been very, very helpful in a lot of ways for archaeology and ancient history. I demand ironic Dr. Miano merch. Okay. All right. Old papyri leave archaeologists confused and scratching their heads. Carol, we're going to see a couple of those coming up where they're like, archaeologists are baffled, by this discovery. And never, ever in those cases does the archaeologists ever say, I'm really puzzled, I'm really baffled. No, it's the people making the article that say this, because people click on it when that's the case. Maybe they're thinking people click on it because they're like, well, then I'll figure it out or something, Yes, Stuart, baffled, stunned, astonished. What language were the oldest scrolls written in? Hebrew, I believe, Mandy. Yeah. Could be Aramaic, but I think Hebrew. People used to hate microwaves. Yeah. AI has been helping in the sciences a lot. Yes, Glenn. Gnosticism was just ancient QAnon. That's a different type of AI, though. It's generative AI that's causing ethics issues. I know, Quinn. I'm not trying to make all AI equally the same. Sending you all the healing vibes that I can muster. Thanks, Jason. Does sub-Saharan Africa have the oldest iron smelting found so far? Did I have something on this recently? I seem to remember reading something on this recently. Who was that? James? James, I have to double check on that, but you may be right about that. I'm having thoughts that I've read this before. Using AI for things like this is only good to me as long as the model is based on good data. Yeah, garbage in, garbage out, right? Absolutely. All right, let's look at another thing here. Oh, this is the actual study of the Dead Sea Scrolls, if you want to look at the study. And then another piece of news here. Nearly 3,000-year-old Mayan complex discovered featuring pyramids and canals. Now, this is exciting. The only downside is they didn't give us many good pictures. So you can see a little bit here. I hate this page. CNN, you got too many ads. Okay. Archaeologists have discovered the remains of a nearly 3,000-year-old Mayan complex in Guatemala, revealing sanctuaries, pyramids, and a unique canal system. I wanted to see this stuff, but they didn't send us the pictures. They sent us this picture. Okay. Isn't that exciting? Yeah, but hopefully they'll be sending us more. But a huge complex means, this is the center of a city. All right? So I don't know if they're going to be able to identify the city ultimately, but if they can find inscriptions, that will help a lot. All right? And I think the date of this is given. This is, by the way, in Cambrayal, around 3 miles from Los Abuelos. And does it give the date? This is a different one. I thought there was a date. But it's from the Maya period, between 400 and 900. But anyway, hopefully there'll be more on this, but I want to find out more about this Mayan complex. And then here, this is from Egypt. 3 more New Kingdom tombs unearthed at Luxor. And Luxor, as you know, is the site of ancient Waset, or Thebes, where it was a capital of Egypt during the New Kingdom. There's lots of burials there, including the Valley of the Kings. All right, these are not royal tombs, though. All right, these are tombs of nobility. Okay, and it's at the site of Dra Abu El Naga. I think they spelled it wrong here, or maybe there's a different spelling. Yeah, and you can see some of the objects that were found here. Some ushabtis there, and some other items. Okay, and you can see they had a press conference where they showed some of the items here. Not a whole lot to see at this point, but we know the names of the individuals. Okay, so there is a tomb belonging to Amun-em-Ipet, who served in a temple or estate dedicated to the god Amun during the Ramesside period. That's when the Ramesses were ruling. 2 other tombs date back to the early 18th dynasty, so that's before. One belongs to Baki, a supervisor of grain silos, and the other belongs to Es, who held multiple titles, including supervisor of the Temple of Amun in the oases, mayor of the northern oases and scribe. Okay, so I thought I would bring that to your attention as well. Finding tombs in Egypt, though, is like, it happens constantly. And it's funny because Egypt is so full of things to find that we start to get like bored of it, like, oh, more tombs, yeah, great. But if this were in some other area, we'd be more excited about it because there's not as much stuff there, right? But in Egypt, oh, there's just tons and tons of stuff. So we'll continue to find things in Egypt for quite some time. All right, this one is about a study that was done on a wine that was made on the island of Crete. Okay, and here Dan Henson. Oh wait, I guess Dan Henson made the picture. Who's the writer here? Oh yeah, Connor Trainer. Okay, Connor Trainer wrote this. How I Uncovered a Potential Ancient Rome Wine Scam. Yeah, so there was a wine that was made during this time. He talks about all kinds of different wines, but it was a raisin wine. I guess because they used, instead of using fresh grapes, they used raisins to make it, okay? Yeah, they even fermented, I guess, oh wait, of course this fermented, but they fermented the raisins, and they made a raisin wine on Crete. And they even have mention of a little bit in some of the sources about this wine. And he's been studying this wine on Crete at Knossos, the famous site of Knossos. Okay? Now, Knossos, as you know, was around in Minoan times, but it also was inhabited in Roman times. All right? And he found evidence, I'll make a long story short, of them diluting the wine with honey. Okay? So they had honey that they were putting into the wine to stretch it out somewhat. And I guess it still tasted good because people still bought it. But he's saying it wasn't pure wine. And so he's calling it a scam. I don't know. Maybe people knew about it. Maybe it wasn't a big secret. But it makes a great story to call it a scam. Yeah. But you can find out more about Raisin Wine in this particular article. Yeah. Let's see. Need ironic merchandise. Okay, another person wants it. Yes, but it is a biological one nonetheless. Okay, you guys are talking about something else that I'm not sure what it is. Okay. Well, I don't see any questions for me here. Oh, the channel Praveen Mohan has a lot of cool videos of the temples in India and Cambodia. Don't watch that channel. Praveen doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay? You can watch whatever you want, of course. Free speech and all that. But he doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay? I'm just telling you, he doesn't even read books. Okay? So be careful about that. Oh, do any of the pseudo-archaeological TV shows have anything worthwhile to add? I watched a show that worked on carbonized text using X-ray imaging and was the first time the text had been tested. I don't see anything wrong with that, Mithril. Scientific experiments and things like that, that's all very good. Yeah. But as soon as they start, talking about things, maybe this and maybe that, and they have actually no evidence for it, then you're in the realm of pseudo-archaeology, right? Yeah. All right. Let's look at another one. Oh, Raisin Wine is still made today, Mandy? I did not know that. I'll have to try it. Okay. This is, you probably saw in the thumbnail, unprecedented large burial urns in the Amazon may reveal a previously unknown indigenous tradition. You can see how big they are here in this picture. Now we're talking about way out there in the Amazon. And this has been talked about a lot lately. Like how we've been doing surveys and LiDAR scans and things like that, and they've been finding structures in the rainforest. Well, people are going out there. Archaeologists are going out there. And they found 7 giant funerary urns buried beneath a fallen tree. And the interesting thing about it is, it doesn't match the style of urns that we know about with other existing cultures. So it seems to be another indigenous culture that lived in the Amazon, unrelated to the other ones we knew about. Yeah, so it's like a new people. They were buried roughly 40 centimeters deep, likely beneath what were once indigenous homes. Yes, which means that they were burying their dead under their houses. I shouldn't say house, their homes. You can see one here. See how big they are? Yeah. But there is evidence of dense and permanent occupation at the site, way out here. I think they said it took them, how far out was it again? You can see some more here. But there is something in here. Oh, a 10 to 12 hour river journey to get to the site. Can you imagine? Now that would be a really cool archaeological expedition. Okay. Researchers used a protective system involving plastic wrap, plaster bandages, bubble wrap, and wooden supports in order to, I think, to get these back to the lab. Yeah. So you can see, I guess you can see some plastic around that one. Amazing, huh? So that's exciting. We'll be finding out more about cultures in the Amazon with things like this. For sure. Alien egg confirmed, says Ford. Raison d'etre. Yeah, Jonathan. Good pun. It's a cover-up. Is it so large for repeated burials? Well, until they examine the contents, we won't really know. We'll see if there's more than one person in there. Yeah. Loved your China video on the bamboo strips. Would love to see more about ancient China and its bureaucracies. Okay, Lupus. Well, I'd like to go back there. I do have one more China video coming out because I was just there a couple weeks ago. A whole other adventure I will tell you about. Hey, thank you, Rhythm, for the $5. Appreciate that. You've got to watch out for those ectomorphs. Plastic wrap, bubble wrap, and support sound like what I have to do for my knees when I go hiking. Nice. I love your archaeology chats, Dr. Miano. This might be a strange question, but have you done archaeology discovered sites with people in the articles you shared the last few years? I'm not an archaeologist, Lucas. I'm an ancient historian, so most of my time is in books. Yeah, looking at ancient documents and things like that. So I know archaeologists, and I keep up on the archaeology, and of course I share the news with you, but I'm not an archaeologist myself. A lot of people call me an archaeologist, but I think because I cover archaeology, but I'm not one. Your adventure that was filmed in China was very cool. The footage of the countryside was informative in its own way. I'm glad you liked it. Yes. And I got a current series on Egypt that I'm working on, and the next episode will be coming out soon. And that one is all about the granite quarries of Aswan in Egypt. Oh, we'll talk about the unfinished obelisk and things like that, so don't miss it. Okay, let's look at another one here. This is also from Egypt. Ancient Coptic brick structure unearthed in Asyut. Okay, this is kind of in central Egypt. And the Archaeological Mission of Egypt working in the Mankabad area. This is in Upper Egypt. Sorry, I guess it's further south. Central, kind of. Has uncovered a significant brick building dating back to the 6th and 7th centuries A.D. And you can see... look at that, an inscription that was found. Coptic, in case you don't know, is of course referring to Egyptian Christians. Coptic just means Egyptian, but usually when we say Coptic church, we're talking about Christians in Egypt. And so look at, they found some urns here. In the building they found wall paintings, including a unique mural depicting a multitude of eyes centered around a single face. I don't think that's in here. Would love to have seen it, but they didn't share that with us. And what else? Okay, yeah. Anyway, another notable fresco discovered shows a bearded man holding a small child, likely identified as Saint Joseph the Carpenter and the infant Jesus. Again, no picture of it. Come on, guys. Well, hopefully they'll release that. But that was another interesting discovery. Okay, Romans lay siege to Italian town centuries ago. Now their weapons are recovered. So this is in Italy, and it is southern Italy, and this is where the Romans laid siege to a city. Oops, and we found evidence of the siege. So this is kind of cool. You know, you might wonder about things like that. Can we find archaeologically evidence for things like a siege? And yes, you can. All right. This was inhabited by the Masapi people. Masapi people. And they were there for 800 years prior to Rome taking them over. It's on the outskirts of the ancient city of Ugento. And they found the fortification and the weapons the Romans left behind. Yeah. They found the remains of the city walls, dating to the 4th and 3rd centuries BC. This is when around the time that the Romans would have taken it over. Yeah. And you can see here a shot of the wall. See? It's funny how this is just in somebody's neighborhood, right? But you can see the wall. Pretty cool. Yeah, including artifacts. They found more than 450 lead missile acorns, a type of small projectile, and 9 iron dart tips. Okay? They were used during the siege, and they were used in a Roman war machine like a Scorpio, which was essentially a large stationary crossbow that fired artillery. You were wondering if the Romans had artillery? They absolutely did. Yes. And here's some of the projectiles right here. What do you think of that? If you're interested in military history, ancient military history, this is a great one for you. So I wanted to share that with you too. Pretty sure historians are more what happened generally where archaeologists as more hands-down objects. Okay, so Ford, you're talking about the difference between an archaeologist and a historian. Yeah, historians deal primarily with written documents. Okay, so they study, the sources, primary sources, the ancient sources, and they learn about history from that. Okay, the archaeologists learn about what happened through their material remains, and ancient historians and archaeologists work together and synthesize their findings to try to come to an accurate understanding of what happened. So they're both very important for each other. You can't do ancient history without archaeologists helping you, and you can't do archaeology without historians helping you. They go hand in hand. Yeah. Let's see. It will be interesting if someday archaeologists discover new archaeology discoveries in places like the country of Chad. There are some countries that are just not getting a lot done, right? A lot of work done there. That would be interesting. Yeah. I'm actually very optimistic that there are things in Africa that are yet to be found that are going to surprise us quite a bit. The common thinking, at least in fairly recent times, is that great civilizations didn't exist in sub-Saharan Africa, but I think we're going to find some we already found some interesting things, but I think we'll find more. Yeah. My husband wonders if you've heard of how there's no evidence of archers during volley fire. How there's no evidence of archers doing volley fire. Oh, in ancient times? I don't know much about it. I know they had archers, but you may be right that they weren't doing volleys. That maybe that's a medieval invention, a strategy. I'm trying to think of an ancient source that talks about volley fire. I can't think of one. Equally, we find that what had previously been taken as evidence of a large siege or battle is probably not true, Stuart. We talked about that last month, I think. Yeah. Archers never fire, they loose. Ah, yes, of course, Glenn, of course. All right, anyway, let's look at another one here. Ancient library with unparalleled architecture found in Stratonicea, marble city of gladiators. Oh, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Now this, you might say, they uncovered that just this month. Actually, they've been uncovering it for a couple of years, okay? But they made an announcement this month about their discoveries here and about the library, which is really interesting. Now this is in southwest Turkey, and it's in the Muğla province. it listed on UNESCO's World Heritage tentative list. It is not a site that I visited when I was in southwestern Turkey. So now I'm thinking, oh, it wouldn't be great to go there. But yeah, it's one of the world's largest marble cities, and it's been under excavation since 1977. Okay, but here they found a library. Okay, it was important in late antiquity. Mosaics are from the 4th century A.D., but it was originally constructed in the Hellenistic period, so it was around for a while. They've uncovered key sections, including the main entrance, the southern portico, the central courtyard, a reading hall, and adjacent rooms. So it had considerable scale and significance. Yeah. Now, it's not going to be as big as the Library of Alexandria, but there were, or the Library of Pergamum, but there were great libraries in Asia Minor for sure. And so this is one of them. So I thought that was an interesting find as well. No, you might say, oh, did they find any books? No, they didn't. Sadly. Not yet, anyway. Maybe, who knows, maybe there's a stash under there somewhere. Wouldn't that be great? But I have my doubts about that. Yeah. Hey, Badger, thank you so much. Late, so I'll watch live, but with delay. Hi, all. Good to see ya. Good to see ya. Oh, so you won't get to me responding to you until later, but hi. Turkey seems like an astonishing area at the moment. Oh, there's so much there, Mithril. So much there. Yeah. Okay. Radar scan reveal... Oops, here we go again. And I hope this doesn't play. I have it muted. Okay. Radar scans. Man, they just keep coming up. I don't like the Herald Sun. Okay. Radar scans reveal more ruins of a 2,300-year-old city in Egypt. See its treasures. Now, they already knew about this place, but there's new things that have been found at this city. And this is a city, I think that in ancient time was called Emet, I-M-E-T. It's in northeastern Egypt, so this is in the Delta area. And this is not an area where things survive very well in Egypt, because there's a lot of flooding, okay? But they found more remains from this city. The site is called Tel Nabasha, okay? But they think it was once part of the ancient city of Emet, okay? They use remote sensing and satellite images to scan the hill and identify which areas had the most ruins, and then they started digging. So what did they found? What did they found? What did they find? Grain storage, houses, buildings used to house animals, an unidentified structure near a central temple. Okay, and here's some of the objects that have come out of this. And they date between, the structures date between 400 and 350 BC. So this would be during the late period, as we call it. Actually, I think it'd be when the Persians were ruling over Egypt. Yeah. Oh, look at this, okay? So yeah, I mean, nothing hugely spectacular, but still really quite cool. And this stela here, I don't know if you can see it. Well, they say it depicts Horus standing on 2 crocodiles. Do you see Horus standing on 2 crocodiles? I don't. Maybe this is a different artifact. They never show the cool ones. Alright, well anyway. So, and I think there's a second article on that I put up here because there might have been more pictures. Yeah. So here's some more shots from the site. You can see. And there's that block again. But again, I don't see the Horus one. But yeah, the ancient city of Emet. So I don't know. I think how do they know it's Emet? Because of the location, I think, is mainly why. When you have ancient, this is where the historians come in. You have these ancient sources. They talk about where certain ancient Egyptian cities are, and then this is in the general location. So that's why they think it's the city of Emet. I don't think they found anything in here that said Emet on it yet. Maybe they'd have, but I don't know of any. It would be great if they found some of the missing works of the ancient great authors. Yeah, I know. I think so as well. I find it interesting that many flaunt what little knowledge they have to outdo each other, like this is a contest. You mean in the chat, Jason? Have you heard of Theopetra Cave? No, I don't think I have. You've got to get an ad block. I know Poseidon, I had one, but then I had to I updated my computer hard drive. I switched out my hard drive, and I forgot to reinstall it, and so that's why. But next time, I will get it back up here. I apologize. Yeah. Thanks for the stream, says Master Decats. Thank you. All right. This one. Rare Sassanid inscription on loyalty and justice unearthed in Marvdasht, southern Iran. Now this is interesting because, well, one of you're looking at that photo and you're saying, oh, cool, that's what they found. Actually, that's just showing you an example of Sassanid art. That's not the inscription, okay? The inscription looks more like this, okay? There's more of it than this, but this is showing you part of it. Yeah, but here is the cool thing about it, okay? This is a moral inscription, right? It's telling you about how to be a good person from the Zoroastrian point of view. And it's great to find things like that because you learn a little bit about, what people thought was right and wrong back in those days. In this case, in ancient Persia. And here's an example of one of the lines. When a person breaks an oath, Mithra, this is one of their traditional gods, becomes enraged, and the violator's land suffers, facing drought, disorder, and decline. Atabaki is the archaeologist quoting this, I guess. Is he giving it word for word? I think it looks word for word to me. That's how an ancient proverb usually sounds. So don't break an oath, people. If you give your word, you got to keep it, okay? Or Mithra is going to be mad. I don't think they gave any other lines from it. I don't know how long it is. Here's a person who breaks a vow or lies under oath is likened to one who renounces the Avesta and the teachings of Zoroaster. Wait a minute, I thought Atabaki was the archaeologist. Oh, it is. Oh, he's the historian, sorry. He's a historian. I should know my own, okay? Yeah, he's a historian. So I think he's quoting from it. I would love to see a full translation. I guess that will be coming when he publishes on this. Yeah. So yeah, it's a testament to Sassanid ethical thought. Which, when I do ancient history classes, I often make my students read moral tracts from these ancient cultures because I want you to know sort of what people thought was good and bad, back in those days. And it's not really all that different from the way we think today. How much trouble does moving geographical features cause archaeologists trouble? Like, we don't know where the Rubicon is any longer. Yeah, it causes trouble, if a river moves. A lot of the rivers have moved. The shorelines have moved, Cities that were once on the water are no longer on the water. But you know who helps us? Geologists. They help us. Yeah. How do you distinguish between a genuine historical text by an unknown historian and a piece of literature that merely feels historically realistic? Many different ways, Poseidon, but you have to first of all figure out how old it is, right? When did it come from? What is the date of this thing? And there are many ways to date a work. It makes it more difficult if it is a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, right? So, for example, we have many ancient Greek works, Plato and all of that, but we don't have anything from his time. We just have copies from much later, like in the medieval times and things like that. But there are other ways we can date it, right? Because we have, for example, ancient writers or inscriptions from the time that mention him or mention works that he wrote, and that you can put two and two together that way. You could also tell about what they're writing about, what the content, and all of that. So there's many different ways to date things. I can do a whole class on it. So basically, a bunch of different factors will tell you when it was written. And then you have to figure out if the person that they say it is really wrote it. There are many ancient writings, what we know, they claim to be by, say, Aristotle, and they're not. Usually you can tell this from the way it's written, They don't do a very good job of mimicking the person. But, yeah, it's That's why we do have this job. It's a very big job. Yeah. Are you specialized in some ancient literature script in particular, Dr. Miano? Well, when I went to school, I went for the study of ancient Near Eastern history, and specifically the Levant, which is the whole eastern seaboard of the Mediterranean. So I know a lot about that. I did a lot of stuff in Bible, Hebrew Bible, mostly. And I did stuff on the Assyrians and then, but over time, I've been expanding out into to Egypt, and you're doing Turkey, and then you keep going. And now I've been working on China and India, the Americas, all that stuff. So I'm interested in all of it. But when I went to school, that was the area that I focused on. Yeah. Okay, here's another one. A turning point in the Bronze Age. The diet was changed and the society was transformed. Okay, so this is about the Bronze Age in Europe, Central Europe. Okay, at the cemetery called okay, I don't think I can pronounce this. Tisifurid Majoro Shalom. I don't know. And a research team in anthropology. Yeah, I guess this is anthropology, okay, has shown that around 1500 BC, radical changes occurred in people's lives. They ate and lived differently, and the social system was also reorganized. Okay, so this is what we would call, well, the Romans would call Gaul, okay, but yeah, so there was a change in the diet, and so now, what does that mean? Okay. I guess people's food consumption was much more diverse during the Middle Bronze Age, and then the diversity decreased in the Late Bronze Age, and the diet became more uniform but poorer. So, in many ways, you could say it got worse in the Late Bronze Age. Broom corn millet was introduced at that time, and I guess, it has a high energy content, so maybe that's why they ate it. So that was what they were doing. Also, mobility decreased, and that means there was less moving around, fewer immigrants in the Late Bronze Age, okay? Social relations changed, okay? The long-time used tell settlements were abandoned, and people lived in less centralized settlement networks. This change created a looser, less structured social system. Now, they haven't yet, explained exactly why all this is happening, but they're just noting that this change occurred. And so now other people can pick up on that and try to figure out why all of these changes are occurring. What was causing it. Might have had something to do with the climate, I don't know. Pretty interesting, huh? Oh, glad you're trying to help me with the pronunciation. Tiza Fured Meoro Shalom. I don't know. Maybe. Oh, as using the J as a Y? Perhaps. What do you think about the power of levitation? You know what? I don't believe in that stuff. It's just okay, that was bad. Dad joke. All right. Anyway, Bronze Age collapse precursor. Yeah, could be. Kissy kissy. What do you think about Forbidden Archaeology book? Is there a book called Forbidden Archaeology? Yeah, there is a book called Forbidden Archaeology. Have I read it? I don't think I've read it. Rajasthan dig reveals 3,500-year-old settlement. ASI traces ancient riverbed findings, may link it to Rigveda era Saraswati River. Oh, I forgot that one. Of Sion. But yeah. And someone mentioned this the other day, and I forgot to put it on my list. But that's a good one, too. How were the Dead Sea Scrolls redated? Carbon dating, Sharon. Carbon dating. All right. Ancient Roman masterpieces emerged from a London demolition pit. So look, how would you like to have this job? See, you wonder what archaeologists do. They don't just dig, okay? They do stuff like this. How would you like that? Going through all of these pieces and trying to figure out how they go together. Yeah. Painted Roman wall plaster. Okay, so it's from a house, from a building. all right, an ancient Londinium from Roman times, all in shatters, okay, and they're trying to put it together to figure out what was on the wall. Isn't that really interesting? I don't know how long it's going to take, but the building was demolished sometime before AD 200, it says. Yeah, oops. Stop it. Okay. Leading this reconstruction effort was the Museum of London Archaeology, where Han Lee, he's the one up here, worked on putting it together. Did they finish? He's speaking in past tense here. The result is a stunning restoration. Okay, I guess he finished. So, where is it? That's another one of those cases where they're not giving us the best picture, okay? Where's the reconstruction, man? Well, here's a little bit of the one. I guess maybe they're going to put it in the Museum of London. But, yeah. Okay. And then archaeologists uncover large Roman-era complex beneath modern Melun, which I think is in southern France. 40 kilometers southeast of Paris. Yeah. A key settlement in Roman Gaul. And you can see right here in the middle of town. Look at that. They found this complex. Yeah. You can see an aerial shot of part of it. A view of a cellar that was part of the building. Yeah. Here's a little bit more. That might be the cellar part right there. Yeah. So, I mean, there's not much to say about this except they found a Roman-era complex. We'll find out more about what's in it later. And then the last thing I wanted to tell you about was this. Okay. Funding cuts to U.S. archaeology could imperil field's future. All right, so this is just about archaeology in general, but recently there's been a lot of canceled and curtailed federal grants that have stopped work in archaeological research. Yeah. Shrunantunich. Yeah. This is a great site in Belize. They were doing some research there. So anyway, you probably know about, this is talking about the U.S. government. The U.S. government is cutting a lot of the archaeological funds. I think it's bad news ultimately. I don't know, it might be temporary, whatever, I'm not sure. Doge had something to do with a lot of this. Okay, but the National Science Foundation is the primary funder of archaeology in the U.S. And at least 16 grants have been canceled since April, according to an analysis conducted by Science, this journal here. In total, nearly $2 million in unpaid funds have been lost from cut NSF grants for archaeology. And the interesting thing about it is, the government approved the grant and said, yeah, we'll fund it. So they think, oh, all right, we got the money. We can do it. And then they're like, and we changed our minds. You can't have it. So a lot of these things get cut. Another one is the National Endowment for the Humanities and the Institute of Museum and Library Services. And a lot of those have been canceled as well. It's not always clear why certain grants were terminated, but 9 of the 16 NSF grants had been flagged in a list released in February by Senator Ted Cruz that claimed the research advanced woke DEI objectives, and that's why they were cut. Yeah. The interesting thing is, what makes archaeology woke? Well, when you look at the things that have been cut, you might think, and you look at it and you're like, what is DEI about this? And it could be just the slightest wording on anything that could get it flagged, And it talks about some of the projects here that were canceled and how, and if you look at them, they're like what is DEI about that? It's hard to even see, But if you use a buzzword they didn't like, the word diversity somewhere appears in your research, you're going to get flagged. Yeah. So I just thought it was worth bringing up, because if you're worried about why aren't archaeologists doing more? Well, they're going to be doing less now. because of that. So hopefully some of these grants will be restored, but some of them probably never will. And so people who thought they had a project to work on now don't, you know. Anyway, yeah. Doge has canceled many things, yes. Historical facts and logic? Woke. LOL. It might not have been the archaeology, but the administration drawing funding off of the various projects. Maybe, maybe. There are certain people who want to dismantle all forms of education and research. An ignorant populace is easier to control. Yeah, Glenn, that's a little conspiratorial for me. I don't think it's about anti-education so much as... Well, I don't think they think it's anti-education. They just think it's education of a form they don't like, you know. And they want different education. But academic freedom is a hallmark, right, of modern society, you know, democracy. Researchers should be allowed to research whatever they want, you know. Now, of course, the government doesn't have to fund it. Maybe the government has to think it's worthwhile, and then you get into this situation where, well, what is worthwhile, you know? But I'm just saying, if you didn't want to fund it in the first place, fine. Okay, you don't want to fund it. You don't have the money. You don't want to fund it. Fine. But to say, yes, okay, start to give them the money, and then pull the rug out from under them, I'm not real crazy about that. Yeah. Do the Chinese fund these sorts of projects for other people? I think only in China. Jason, thank you so much for the contribution. To be very honest, a follow-up video to your expose on Nilesh Oak's Mahabharata claims, one where you actually debunk some of the pseudo-history he's promoting, would be greatly appreciated. I could do that, but, you know, under my book review on him, I do have some links to some people who completely debunk his astronomy section, so you can check that out. All right. Anyway, folks, that's all for today. I appreciate you staying with me through this, and I hope you enjoyed the archaeological news. I will post the links to these articles after I get offline, and I'll put them under the video. But thank you so much. If you are interested in this t-shirt, you want to buy one, go to my merch page. It's underneath as well. And if you want to take my new course, History versus Hype, the Anti-Bunk Toolkit, there's a link for that below as well. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.